Prepare yourself for a talk radio experience like no other.
Strap yourselves in and hold on.
He stands for truth. He stands for justice. He stands for what's right. This is the Alex Jones Show. Call Alex now, toll free, at 877-590-5525. Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
I blew up at a guy earlier because he brought up 9/11 being an inside job. And I get frustrated because it's not up to me to prove what happened on 9/11. I don't know what happened. You understand that? All I know is the official story is a lie. You know, that guy will keep repeating, well, they say hijackers flew them. Who were they? Who were those men? Okay, I go investigate who they were, and I find out they're trained at all these bases, and people went public, and embassy heads went public, and they were working for the government. They were protected. Then I study other actions where the U.S., the Russians, the Chinese, Cuba, governments for thousands of years have staged attacks and blamed it on their enemies. There's examples 600 years ago of different, war chiefs, shoguns in Japan doing this. Framing people. You want your population to go off and have a war with their neighbors? You got to burn something down and then, club an enemy over the head and, claim you captured them there. But there's hundreds of examples where our government did it. Then we get a secret document declassified in 2000, Operation Northwoods, ABC News, Baltimore Sun, AP. They all cover it. U.S. government plan to terrorize U.S. cities, blame it on Cuba, Soviet Union, start World War III. Then I talk to the admirals. I talk to the colonels. I talk to the generals. I talk to the JAG officers. I talk to the Army special ops people about all the staged events they did. Then I learned about the USS Liberty, where the U.S. and Israel teamed up to attack one of our ships, to cut it off radio control, sink it. Most of our military didn't know. To blame it on Egypt and the Soviets to try to start World War III again in '67. By the grace of God, it's the most decorated ship in U.S. history. They handed out multiple Congressional Medal of Honors. The ship did not sink under torpedo attack, descent missiles, Mirage attacks. We get called conspiracy theorists when I'm interviewing the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, when I'm interviewing the captain before he died, when I'm interviewing all the medic and everybody. 3 months ago, Chicago Tribune comes out, NSA declassifies it, National Security Agency, Israel declassifies and admits, okay, we did it, it was staged. Did you know that's now been declassified? The debate's over. NSA transcripts of Israel, the pilots refusing to attack the ship, saying they're flying a double-sized wartime American flag. They're 13 miles off our coast, international waters, off the Sinai. The pilot, the head pilot of the first squadron, the descent missiles, and they said in the Mirages, refused to attack, and they threatened him and say, attack that American ship now! And they blow up the radio relay tower, shoot down the wires. The guys get out there while it's burning, string it again. They get a call off to the main fleet a few hundred miles away in the Med. They say, help us, help us. Admiral Guy says, launch, launch. They launch jets to go attack. The president comes on the line. I've interviewed the admirals. This is in the conning tower on the aircraft carriers. The president comes on and says, countermand, that ship's going to the bottom. And they followed orders, and they turned those planes around, and then it went on. Gunboats, attacks, everything. And they couldn't sink that ship. Huge 35-foot holes from torpedoes, burning. The captain had his intestines tied in at the bridge. You ought to see the photos of it just after the fact. Huge holes everywhere, fire everywhere. Just incredible. But they locked down the bulkheads. They followed procedure. They were unable to sink the ship. It's declassified now! You see, Tonkin, they had claimed the ships had been attacked by the North Vietnamese, and the tapes of the president, McNamara, from the ranch are now released. Him talking to McNamara from the ranch up to the Pentagon. And McNamara has already staged it and is telling them how they staged it, and now you got to follow along, showing how they just handle presidents. And they're on there telling them, this has been released. Well, you're going to go say that they did attack our ships, but they didn't attack the ships. Okay? So I guess it didn't work well enough that time. By the way, it was McNamara. I mean, I've interviewed the admirals who were there getting the call. McNamara first comes on and tells them, don't send the planes. And then they refuse McNamara's order. And then the president calls them. Okay? Listen, it is a set piece of infantry battles going back 4,000 years to send out a small group to lure the enemy in, knowing that group's going to be wiped out. And once you have that attitude, it's all over. And that's the same attitude on 9/11. Once you have the attitude of, well, it's just war, we've got to have 3,000 die, just like Dick Cheney wrote in the PNAC documents, we've got to have a big terror attack to mobilize our people to set up this world government. Or our people aren't going to accept invading all these nations. All right, now look, I'm running out of time here. I haven't even gotten but to one set of my news here. And I know we've got Russell holding the longest, then Jesse, then Dwayne, Mark, John, Lee, AJ. There are just so many. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to air the Willie Nelson now. If you want to watch the boiled-down hour-plus interview down to 10 minutes, it's on YouTube. It's up on prisonplanet.com. This is a new interview, not the one last week. We had Willie back on Monday for an hour and 10 minutes. And I haven't re-aired that yet, so I wanted to air more of it. I'm not going to have time for that now. I'm going to cover the Wall Street situation. I'm going to cover the foreign troop situation. I'm going to cover the Moscow threatens force over Kosovo situation after break. I guess I don't have time to take one now, do I? I do? Who's been holding longest here? Actually, it's Jesse in California. Jesse, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. I'm a research psychologist and educator in the University of California. And I'd like to talk about the first caller you had, the guy that called in, just a complete zombie. Because I'd like to talk about the psychology of waking people up and why people don't wake up. And
cognitive dissonance.
Well, I mean, there's an absolute ton of psychology that underlies this whole phenomenon, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's almost pointless to try and take on the New World Order with an information war because the deck is so stacked against the individual people from coming out of this cult-like brainwashing that's been going on.
Well, I hear you, but people are waking up in record numbers, and they're speaking out. But, yeah, on 9/11 Truth, they'll point out what some kooky 9/11 group's saying and using their government ops, but they'll never go look at all the real info. Like, why was the CIA running drills of the exact same targets at the exact same time being attacked the exact same day?
The more research that I do, kind of the more frightened I become of the situation.
I know, it's incredible.
If you look at the Military Commissions Act and couple that with the Defense Authorization Act of 2007
and PDD 51.
Yeah, the basic implication is that the discussion that all of us are having right now is an act of treason and terrorism by...
Well, what have you heard Michael Weiner, beatnik, 60s king, pimp daddy, savage say? He says anybody who criticizes the government in time of war should be arrested. They want to bring back sedition acts. They want to arrest citizens en masse. I have people email me every day saying, yes, there are camps. I can't wait to kill you. I'm going to torture you in the camps. Even the San Francisco Chronicle admits they built the camps now. Listen, I hear you and I appreciate your call. Great call. More calls straight ahead on the other side. I'm going to blast through them and then tons of incredible news. Stay with us.